I think we're ready to do this now. Alright, hello everyone. Today we're doing a quick review of the first three stream parts. Um, Interesting. Alright, so anyway, we're doing the review of the first three stream parts of the Minecraft plugin. If you guys have any questions, please keep them to brevity. Tomorrow we will resume the normal series, but today we are going to just kind of cover what we've already covered. Okay, so first things first, we need to get a browser up. Alright, and then the easiest thing to do is let's start off by going to ninite.com. You will need, for the purposes of this, you're going to need a minimum of Java runtime, and you're going to need the minimum of the Java JDK, which is over here. We also will be using Notepad+, FileZilla, and Eclipse on a regular basis. Now I'm going to add some stuff on to my build. This is pretty common for what I use. 7-zip we will use also. So don't forget to get that 7-zip. If you have WinRAR, that may do the job, but I definitely recommend 7-zip. It's free and really superior in several ways. I think this is everything I use and need. Oh crap. Forgot to install Office. I'll do it later. Alright. I think this is everything I need for this computer. I'm actually doing everything on a new setup. I actually installed a new drive and a new OS just so we can kind of review some of these things and get some of these installers processed so that during the review you guys can see kind of what's going on and stuff like that. Well, let's do this. I'll do the show things. You can see here how it gives statuses on all the different parts. Also notice that if you have a 64-bit system, it's going to give you both Java and Java 64 automatically, which is one of the big benefits of doing it this way. And once the installation completes, it'll actually tell you that it's okay. And if you actually looked at your installed programs as this is going through, you'll actually see them pop up and process pretty gosh darn fast. My dog is definitely feeling his oats today. Yes, Boomy. He's wagging his tail. Well, what did you hear? Oh, he's all busy stretching and like, pet me now. Okay. So, oh my goodness. Growling while I'm petting you? What do you hear at the door? It's so evil. It's just their groceries, I bet. Alright, so, let's just skip ahead to the next part. We are going to need, now you'll notice that once we get down to Eclipse, we'll actually get the programs we need. This doesn't take super long. You can see how fast everything is in its processing. You'll also notice, here's a really good example, skipped installed version is newer. That occurs when you've manually installed something and it's different. Now, I will tell you that during our tutorial of session 1 where we covered Eclipse, we did not install Eclipse to this method. I'm going back and forth, and I'm just showing you guys this option, but you can download it. Now, I'm going to show you. If you go to the Eclipse website and download it manually, there we go. You're going to want to make sure you choose the IDE for Java EE developers, and of course the 32-bit or 64-bit that you have installed. Don't forget that you need the Java that matches that version. So if you have 64-bit Windows, but you only have 32-bit Java, I think they've made a change in this version or the previous version where they actually fixed that. Previously, you would actually have to always have the matching Java, but I think they fixed that. So I do suggest that you have both of them, and that's why I showed you Nanite, which is free. The only catch to it is that that little package that downloaded, you have to run manually. Now there is a option for you to go to Pro, and I believe Pro allows you to do it on multiple computers. I think it's like you can do it automatically on a schedule. There's a lot of things that you can do offline installers, it looks like. So offline being it basically pulls the way that theirs works is that I don't know why I'm explaining this, but it pulls from, like, let's say computer A downloads Java, but then computer B is offline at that time, and then computer B comes on later. Well, instead of going to the internet, it would actually save network space and like push it to a local source. Really, Pro is only for. I mean, I think it's kind of expensive too. Yeah, it's like $20 per month. So like it's really designed for professionals because they're free product. When you just click it, it's so easy. Now I wish they had a residential version. Here we go. They do have a new option. You can do the updater, and the updater, it looks like it's a little more personal. It just gives you yeah, $10 for one, 30 for five, and then everything updates automatically. I might even do that just so I can, put it on my wife's computer and not have to think about it. Alright, so let's see where we're at on the setup and install. We are about halfway through. Putty's pretty fast. You can see things starting to populate on the side of my screen. What you can't see is my toolbar. Things are actually, they are always asking me. That person wants to trade like every single day. I like them though. Mostly because they had a good avatar. Other than that, I'm not even sure if they speak fluent English. I think it's kind of their second language or whatever. Let me check something here. Okay. While we're waiting on that, which is almost done. Yep, it's almost done. Let's go to the next part. So the next thing we're going to need is we are going to need to get set up on GitHub. Now, unfortunately, even though I have a new system, I can't create a new account. Like, I could, but I don't really want to. But you guys can sign up, pick your username, get your emails, do it. You don't need a paid account. The free account is all you're going to need because you're going to be dealing with free sourced non-private stuff. And the best thing that you're going to do for that is you can click here, which really, if you go to windows.github.com, this is the one that you want. This is the best client that you're going to be able to get for what you need. So Unfortunately, GitHub doesn't include a package for their thing, so just go ahead and grab it. Excuse me. Alright, let's run that installer. So this is one of the few things that I wanted to make sure so you guys could see, what is the process I'm following to do some of these things when I install them, because that was not included in the tutorial because I already have everything installed then, um, and really I didn't do this just so I could run a review. I'm not gonna like restart my computer every single time. My other drive is still intact. I just added a new OS on a new drive, which is a great way like to experiment with different OSs. I also just used it for this purpose. Okay, almost done. Now, I did say keep questions brief, but like I said, if y'all have a question, especially someone who hasn't asked a question, like I don't need you guys to ask questions just to ask questions, but if you guys are curious about something and you're like, whoa, 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 why did you do such and such? Like, I don't understand that. Please ask, because I probably will not recover the contents of this session one more time. I'm going to be going through pretty quickly. Really, the slowest thing is waiting for some of the stuff to install and set up. But as you can see, we're on the very end of it. Once it gets to the Eclipse part, we're pretty much done. Alright. Scroll this down. I really appreciate them giving me every single application right there on my desktop. It's so nice of them to do that. Sarcasm. I just keep scrolling and moving it over to my other screen. Now, let me do something. Let me scroll this over. Wait one second, let me... Oh. Alright, so now GitHub is just finished loading and installing. I'm going to scroll it over as soon as it lets me. Alright, so it's going to start off like this. That username that you registered, make sure you're on GitHub, and then you just click your email, your password. You don't need an enterprise URL because, well, you don't have one, so let me just finish logging in on this. It's saying, where's my enterprise URL? Okay, well, let me look. I always love when I'm assuming something. I shouldn't need one. Oh. Yeah. It switched over to the enterprise login, and I'm like, what? There we go. Now it's logging in. Okay. And then it's going to ask you, obviously, that's my information. And then it's you can click on your dashboard. This is really where you start. So the first thing you're going to do is you have some options. You guys won't see ones that have locked because those are private ones. I will say briefly that KOTC Core is KOTC Tutorial with some... I'm not doing the tutorial garbage in there, but I basically am creating the code in advance, and then we're going to be able to push it over. So, now if you remember, when you guys get set up for your stuff, you have to do something slightly different. You have to actually get my own repository. And the way you do that is you're going to need some information first. So you got to go to GitHub's website. Not Windows like GitHub, but like the regular one. You're going to have to sign in. And oops, let me move this over so you can't see my super secret test password. That doesn't matter. Alright. And then I'm logged in. Let me even... I like using that test. Remember, this is the last time I'm probably going to show you the test parameters. So let me kind of show you what it looks like from here. So, you know, if once you're logged in, you can actually just kind of do a search in GitHub for me. I thought you could look for a person. Oh, yeah, you can. Here we go. Users. And this is the one that you actually care about and want to know about. You would then be able to see, oh, look, KOTC tutorial. And then the first thing you're going to do is you're actually going to create a fork. And what the fork does is the fork, when you click it, it's going to ask you some quick questions. And it's literally going to copy all the data from mine into your own repository. So this is what it would look like when it's done. It would actually show the contents of your fork in right here. And now you can actually, once you have it forked, now you actually could go to your, I can close this real fast, your repository, and you can click on clone, and then you would actually see that there was a KOTC tutorial. Now, instead of a book, you would actually see a little fork symbol, you know, that's like 2 prongs and then 1 prong down. And you're going to click clone KOTC tutorial. And it's going to bring it into wherever you want to put it. Now, for us, you can totally put it into the GitHub folder or wherever you want to, but you're going to need to centralize your Eclipse and GitHub into one place. So the best way to do that is, I'm putting it on a separate drive, but you can put that into, I like to put it into Workspace, both GitHub and Eclipse stuff, because Eclipse is going to default to a workspace. And I've just gotten used to using a air quotes workspace. Just select the workspace. There we go. And now normally it wouldn't have all this stuff in because it wouldn't have had the contents from before. Okay. So the next step for you guys is Eclipse installed. It's installing. So we're literally on the edge of this process. So I'm just going to give it 1 second to finish installing Eclipse, and then we are going to immediately load Eclipse. Because we've already got our JDK and our JRE. Remember, JRE is the Java piece that users use and you will use as a user. JDK is the development piece that we use to program off of. And both Android and Minecraft both use Java as their programming language. And that's why we use those pieces. If this was an Apple product, we would use Apple or whatever. We would use the language that we need to match up. But Minecraft is based off of Java, and for the purpose of a Java plugin, we also run Java. Alright, so it looks like Eclipse is installed. Now, when you download Eclipse manually, Where did it put my Eclipse? Did it? Oh, normally it gives me a little thing in my. The whole point of me doing it. So if when you download Eclipse, it's going to be in a zip, and you can actually self-contain install it to any particular location. Just literally unzip it to that location, and then you're done. Now I don't know why. Oh my god. Probably because it put it on C drive, and okay, I guess this is the first. I mean, everything else installed to the F drive, which is the home for this one. Oh, you know what? Looky there. Looky there. It did install it. Let me see where it installed it really fast. System drive Eclipse. Okay, so that's where it installs if you use this. All you really have to do is put this on your toolbar, like pinned to taskbar, and then you're good to go. You really don't need your desktop unless you wanted to. You can also go to that location. So once this starts, it does not need. See, the benefit of Nanite is it's going to update Eclipse automatically, and you do not need Eclipse to be in that folder that you're working from. It does not mean your workspace folder. Now, if you unzip it, I highly recommend that you unzip it into the workspace folder if you manually download it. Otherwise, you're not going to remember where you put it in most cases. Now, once this is all done, it says finished. You can close that. The first thing it's going to do is ask for workspace. Now, it's going to do your OS drive, users, your login name, workspace as the default. So we are doing something slightly different. We are putting it all into our workspace folder. That's why we have it. So ours is just eWorkspace. But yours can be C user, your name, workspace, and you can totally work from that. That is totally acceptable. If you are unsure, leave this unchecked for a while. Because once you get your workspace set, it's best. But for me, because I have it on a separate drive and everything else, I know I'm not going to move this. And I don't need to be asked that question every single time. Especially since I know how to open a different workspace location. But if you've never done that, you're probably going to have to Google it, and it takes a little time. So, literally, for the first 6 months I was using Eclipse, that question would just pop up, and I would leave it unchecked. And I recommend that for people, because you're going to change things. You're going to move stuff. And when you're first getting set up, that's going to be a pretty regular thing. Now, remote system temp files. What is this bull? Oh, just ignore that. That's probably something that's being synced. So, let's see here. Oh, it's got this weird error on that, which I really don't care about right now. Because really all this was a test to show you an example. It's not even real code. So, I mean, it is code, but it's not really how we're going to do it. I know we're not going to talk about that quite yet. We will talk about what pieces we were discussing here, though. So the next part you would have to do is, once you got the setup, you'd actually have to go here, and you would actually have to create a new Maven project. You go to new. Most of the time, you're going to have to go other. You're going to have to go Maven project. Next, make sure you click create a simple project. And if you are moving stuff around, you might have to manually select your default location. Otherwise, that should be fine. But you need to make sure you define your location and create a simple project. Click Next. This is going to be your package name, which we discussed. For the purposes of this, it's always going to be kotc.co, and then your artifact name is, in this case, is tutorial. and then your versioning stuff you have to adjust to whatever you want to start it as, and then you want to leave the jar as it is. These are the only things required. So this right here is actually your whatever your domain is, and if you don't have one, you just got to make it unique, because your group ID, for purposes of submitting plugins, really managing them intelligently, it's really got to be something unique that it's only you. So you can set it up as your email. So if like you had a Gmail account, you could do com.gmail. Let's say your name was, let's say your like username was like Steven 2001 or whatever, and then that would be your unique identifier. You could use your email address like that, and then whatever you're working on is tutorial. Like I said, should I show you what the actual live code looks like? Not right now, because in the live code we actually made some changes. We actually it's actually like this long ass string. It's like plugins dot forgot. I'm not even sure. Yeah, we have this long string that's slightly different than this stuff, because we're actually breaking it up and using all these like subdomains and like all this other stuff. But if you just have whatever this is your uniqueness, whether it be 2 parts, 3 parts, 5 parts, 7 parts, whatever's unique to you. It can be an email, it can be a domain, it could be something, but it should be something that is recognizable to you. That's why we don't recommend doing something like Steven 2001 right here. You could. Technically you could. There's nothing like would stop you from pressing finish right now. Really wouldn't. So once you set up that Maven, and you have everything set up for your process, you'll be able to come over to Palm and shoot, I forgot. Palm's a little bit different because it's an XML file. If I drag it over, it's gonna like load this XML view, which I don't really want. I actually need to come over here and go open with and like text editor or something. So things to know in here. 1, your group ID is going to be the same thing as your group ID. This file is mostly created. The part that we added is this. Okay, and what is this? Okay, so let's break it into parts. So there's the build part. Okay, the build part, and this is copy and paste. Okay, if you have any questions, you can always go to the Bucket website. What this basically does is it says we're using Java 1.7 for the purposes of someone using Java 1.7. Java 1.7 is Java 7. And you already have that line built into here. We just add this so that people know that this is, and literally we didn't modify this, this is all default. Okay, the next part is repositories, and all we're doing is we're doing a bucket repo. It's really just a name. The URL is actually the most important part of it. The URL of repo bucket or content groups public gives us, if we actually went into a folder, whoops, I just don't want to move stuff. If we actually went to this website, which we did in our tutorial, you'll be able to see all the different ones that exist for this. A repo is a repository. You've already heard that for GitHub. A repository is nothing more than a location. So then it's like, what do I look for? Well, that's where we typed in right here under dependencies. Okay, this is what defines what we're going to pull. So what are we pulling? Org.bucket, bucket. Okay, great. Org.bucket, bucket. See how that worked out? org bucket, and then there's a bucket. Because the name's bucket, but the unique group was org bucket. These first couple files are really just special files to make sure that this works properly. And oh, look, we have a new snapshot. So we can actually use this new snapshot 3, which we were not able to use before. Oh, we were. See how they already updated it. So even though it's got a new date of the August 26th, which is like today, because we're using Maven, is it RO2 or RO3 that I saw there? I just want to make sure we're looking through RO3. So even though it's been updated today, because these are snapshots, which are like changeable files, it's these ones that are not snapshots that are like the static, less changing. Snapshots are literally changed from day to day as needed. And even though there's 1.7.10 out there, they have not released a 1.7.10 snapshot or publish yet. So all we really need to do is make sure that in our dependencies we define where we're going, which is off this URL, and then where do we go from there? Org, bucket, bucket. This is the file we're pulling. It's a type of a jar. And the scope is actually we put provided because it's already been pushed in between their Maven setup and what we put in here. So once we do that and we save this file, it's going to add a new Maven dependency group. And it will actually download and save it. If you actually went to the top of your file and you went Maven update project, it actually is going to download that new 1.7.9 RO3 snapshot from today. And that'll be it. Now, oh, I forgot one thing. When you do the POM XML and you save the file, you actually have to do that update so that it does load this the first time. So, but you can do it as many times as you want to update your Maven requirements or project pieces. I got someone at the door. Just 2 seconds. And I'm back. Okay, so let me think of where we're at. We're basically at the end because once we set this up, the next part is to go into your, ignore all that part, your source main section, and you're going to create a new package. So you see this line automatically. You're going to create a new package. That package is going to be called basically the same thing that your stuff is called. And that's going to create this folder. Then you're going to right click here and go new class, and you're going to name that class technically whatever you want, but oftentimes the people at Bucket, if you plan on like submitting it, want it to be named the same as your project. And then you're going to come in here, and you're not going to see any of this. You're going to have to start off. So let's go over the pieces of this component so far we've gone. Public class, whatever the name of your file needs to be right here. Extends Java plugin. Extends means there's another component called, another class called Java plugin. There's a Java plugin class, which is actually part of the bucket stuff. and we're extending their what's the best thing in the class? So just think of classes as like pooled resources. It's a bunch of different stuff, and when you extend that class into yours, you're saying, hey, I'm kind of part of this other guy. I'm like a sub piece of him. So I can call his references as if they were my own for the most part. Then you're going to want to name it. Remember, this part is case sensitive. So this is your class, and then this is actually the friendly name for it. So it doesn't have to be the same name. It could be called. A lot of people call this plugin. Okay, the most common thing I see is for people to call it plugin. I don't do that, but it's totally acceptable. Um, Then we have these strings set up, so they're public. It's a type of a string, and we talked about some of the different types can be string, integers, doubles, and then they can be things that are specifically defined in the bucket, such as a location, um, or something that's defined in it, but is really part of Java, so it's part of the JRE system library, such as a hash map. So we talked about how there's also this final static that we use. There are additional modifiers, just like public, and it could be private instead. Final and static define the state that this variable is in. As it kind of indicates, final is an end state. Doesn't mean you can't add data to it, but you really can't modify certain components of the thing. It also allows you as a final state to it kind of defines, hey, I'm more stable. I got stuff going on. Um, and then static is a little redundant, but it kind of does a very similar process where it says I don't move. So I don't move, and I'm at the end of the way that I'm going to look. It's like I said, final and static. I often tell people add these in as you need to, not because they're there. So like, don't put them there, and then later on when something else pops up and it's like a suggestion. It expected a comma. Why would it expect it? That makes no sense. I don't know why it's not being like that. It is kind of weird. There's no real reason for it to... Oh, location A. Oh, it's null plus null. What if we change this to Steve and Sally? I'm just curious. Let's save it real fast. Oh, Sally's not a location type. That's part of the problem there. So I'd actually have to put in a location variable. What if we don't define them? Yeah, it's so weird that it's doing that like that. I feel like my eyes are just missing something that's really simple. All right, so let's and then the only thing else we covered after we covered initializing variables, variable name being plugin name, the type being string, public, private being defined, and this is literally what you defined it as. As you can see, I did this and you heard me talking. These are undefined variables. We create a variable, but we didn't assign an answer to it. So we would actually have to put something in there later on through like if, then, where, else, for, while, some sort of statement that like then asks the question and then inserts data appropriately. And then we covered hash maps. And I did say one thing during the process. I said, we're not going to use nested hash maps because that's too advanced. However, upon thinking about how we're going to be able to get these damn claim cuboids to really work properly, we're not only going to have to have nested hash maps, but we're also going to have to serialize one of them. So we'll be covering that in our section probably tomorrow, where we serialize. Actually, we'll probably go to our connections, set up a SQL connection, because we gotta like set up a SQL server, get it all working, blah blah blah, and that's a section unto itself. And then the last thing that we've covered that is actually there's two more things. Sorry, I forgot. One of the final things we covered is every single plugin needs to have an on enable and an on disable. We discussed how git logger and then what is it that we're calling? What about git logger? So git logger has several options, and we talked about how if you go in here and oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that occur ever. It's probably some sort of weird thing because of our setup. Like me basically I'm using the same drive on two different systems to write the same thing, and it like probably like wrote something weird. But you can see like how there's all these different variables and all these different things that you can put in there. The ones that are most important are info, which is informational stuff, warning, which is like, oh, beware of this, and then there's, I believe, where is it? It should be S. There it is. Severe. So those are the like basic three levels: info, warning, and severe. Like I said, there is more options in here, but those are the ones that we use most commonly. Okay, so then this is informational, and we just put is being enabled, and then we covered how to set up the Minecraft server, which I am going to skip over in this review tutorial because there's so many places out there. Really, all you have to do is download Spigot MC's thing. You follow the instructions for the bucket server setup, and you basically have it working. And then the final part, because this is a review and I want to keep it as brief as possible, is plugin.yml. You're going to right click, you're going to create a new file. It's going to name it plugin.yml, and the name of your plugin, this is the first file that it's going to read. So if this is not right and it can't find this file, remember it's code.kotc.tutorial.kotc.tutorial. If this Java file didn't exist, you would get an immediate error on your plugin saying it's not going to work. It's as simple as that. Now, when we change versions, remember that we have to change versions because this is a Maven project, both here and here. This is the version that shows when someone types in /pl. This is the version that shows up when we compile and we're trying to publish. Okay? So we just want to make sure they're all together. And remember, 000, we could do snapshot. Because that's the Maven standard, is to add snapshot for anything that's going to be changing. It's not final. And then you remove snapshot when it becomes final. So if you saw one that said 000 snapshot and 000, 000 is the kind of final. And some people put final. Some people put final, 000 final, just so it's really clear. But you don't have to. Those are recommended standards. They're not absolutes. Like, it doesn't change or break anything in the coding. It's just, if you don't follow certain standards, people are going to have a hard time reading your code, hard time following what you wanted to say and do with your code, and ultimately you're going to get less support from people because you will be unable to get people to look at your code and be like, if I can't figure it out, I'm not going to waste my time. This is just driving me nuts. I mean, it's a basic thing, but we're not going to use it because we got to like nest. And this is a piece of hair that we discussed for how to add data to a hash map. So like if we started this plugin up right now, and then added something to like check to see what hash map entries there were, this, which is this, literally is the thing that you're talking about. So the class that you're actually in. Claim cuboid is this. That's the hash map name. And then put is what we're gonna like enter into it. So we entered a UID of this, and then we entered a string of claim cuboid, which was supposed to be based on those other variables. But once again, UID string is what the data set is, and if you remember, we talked about how a hash map is literally just a key, the UID. The first one's always the key, and then the second one is the entry. And these can be any types. Like we could put this as string. Like if you were going to use player name, you might like create a player name that's based on a string or something. But it really doesn't matter because it's all the same. Notice that this is cuboid region because what we were going to do is create a string that's called cuboid region and then put it in there. So for purposes of errors, we're going to go public string cuboid region. Boom. It has to be spelled correctly with a capital S. Because remember, everything's case sensitive except for Windows. Everyone else in the world has like decided, well, we need to be case sensitive. That is so weird. I feel like I've missed something somewhere in this code, and that's why it's like doing that. Like I missed a semicolon or something somewhere. Yeah, I didn't think that was gonna work. Alright, but anyway, since all this is garbage goop anyway. In fact, this is all garbage goop as well. This is all just like stuff that we set up to like show you guys how to work. There we go. And then the final thing is, how do you give it to me? Like once you guys got all your stuff set up, right? Like, let's call this cleanup. Notice this is the symbol I was talking about before, the fork symbol, where it's got two prongs and then one going down. So, you know, cleanup, we're going to commit to master. Remember, you're committing this to your stuff. Okay? Did I log in as... Who did I log in as? Me, okay. So once you did that sync, and I don't know if this is going to work because I think it's all jacked up. I might have to like reset this so it's like loading mine. Because I think I like loaded KOTC test or something. Which is really just crazy talk. Yeah. So what I have to do is like remove this, then clone myself. Remember, we're putting it in here. It's just because I keep going between the two. And I'm just, after today, I'm not going between the two. I'm only going to be working for myself. That other account is, I might just close down or something. Alright, and I can see that it's mine and actually mine because of this. And now, see, my changes are already still there. Even though I've loaded it, it just notices what's the difference on my local machine to what's there. and then we sync it, and then it should work because, well, I'm the master of it. Why does it keep flipping? Oh, I know why I might keep flipping. Because back over here, I am logged in as, and that's why it probably keeps flipping out. Because it's like, because it actually does kind of run a command line. When the Windows tool is, let me just remove it one more time. Not from there. I think it just keeps getting confused because of the split login. And you can see I can literally just keep doing this over and over again for days. Yeah. Workspace, okie dokie. But all this tool is doing is actually running a command line setup to do the work, because GitHub is really based on. Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? I'm gonna have to figure out why it keeps doing this. I might have to like close it or some weird ass shit. Anyway, once you've done this, you would actually come to my mouse is being weird, sorry. There's it popping back. Yeah. So once you actually got it to work right, which I will fix later. In fact, I don't really even need that code. Oh, I know exactly what's going on. So, because and you will not have this problem, but because I keep going back and forth, in the, in this little drive area right here in the workspace, if I go to KOTC tutorial and I actually looked at the GitHub files, I bet you they are marked as files from Fulcrum tests because we were showing you that stuff. Let me see what I got here. It's gonna be in one of these files. Maven build tutorial. I don't see it yet. It could be. Oh, it's probably, yeah, it's probably in the Git and the, oh man, I'm not even sure where it would be in here. Yeah. See, right here, the remote origin, it keeps trying to push it back to Fulcrum test. So if you set yours up the way that you should, which is you log into your account, you go to mine, you do a poll, okay, and then once you're set up, whoops, oh well, it's a fake data password anyway. Once you get that set up, you do a pull request or a fork request, and you actually get that fork out, and then now you have a fork. Well, once you do a push to here, it'll actually allow you to do a pull, and that takes yours and pushes it or suggests it to my main. Okay. Damn, stupid cough. And that's all it is. So I'm gonna fix my setup on my stuff, because I'm from now on, like I said, now that we've reviewed these 3 sections and parts, you guys should know how to do your setup. You should know how to build the initial packaging, how to push to my stuff, and basically everything we covered in 3 sessions, but condensed heavily into like an hour or less. So I will fix this weird ass setup on my own so that it's not confusing. And then from now on, I'm going to be logged in as myself, so there will be no longer a intermediary. So what you see me do will be slightly different than what you do for that. I don't need to then pull and send that pull request. Okay. I wish it said push, because that would actually make a lot more sense, because you're trying to push it. But really what it thinks you're doing is you're pulling from yours and you're putting it over there. okay, it should be a push, not a pull. That's just my opinion. And that is where I'm going to leave this at. So if you all have any questions, please feel free to ask quickly. Let me give you like 60 seconds. Actually, no one's really been talking or asking questions, so that's fine. So I'm gonna cut this off, and then tomorrow, remember that we resume. Tomorrow we're actually covering SQL, setting up MySQL, and then some of the parts. Because literally, because you guys went after the possibly the most complex thing to start with, which is land management. There's like all these moving pieces. You gotta guys learn how to do Java. You gotta learn how to do Maven. You gotta learn how to GitHub. You guys gotta learn how to compile and set up servers, and then of course you gotta set up your database. So that is it for right now, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.